There's some seats in the front too.
Okay. Everybody can hear me? Perfect. Thanks for coming tonight. I wish to call to order this public hearing on November 20th at 7 p.m. Council would like to acknowledge the Ucluelet First Nations, of whose traditional territories the District of Ucluelet operates. This public hearing is being video recorded and will be published on the District of Ucluelet's YouTube channel. The notice of the public hearing has been advertised and is available at the Manager of Corporate's service table with a copy of the rules that will govern this public hearing. Council will listen to public input on the matter in the notice of the public hearing. Please note that there will be no discussion at the public hearing. The purpose is to hear from the public before third reading of the bylaws, which may occur at the special council meeting at 8:30 this evening. Rules governing public hearings. As provided for in the Local Government Act, the council is required to hold a public hearing before adopting an official community plan, bylaw, zoning bylaw, or amendment thereto. At a public hearing, all persons who deem their interest in the property affected by the proposed bylaws shall be afforded an opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions on the matters contained in the bylaw. Council may consider amending the bylaws based on the public input received at today's public hearing. At a public hearing, the council is under no obligation to enter into debate on any issue. The purpose of the hearing is to hear public input, which will be later considered by council in their special meeting. You will have as much time to address council as needed, as long as your comments are focused on the bylaws and licenses which are subject to the public hearing. Following the public hearing, council will not accept further communication or presentations from the public or the applicant respecting the bylaws. Procedure for addressing council. To maintain order and to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to be heard, our rules of procedure are as follows. To address council, please proceed to the podium and begin your remarks by clearly stating your name and address. If you are speaking on behalf of an organization or another person, please identify the name and address of that organization or person. If you are speaking from prepared remarks, we would appreciate a copy. First-time speakers, please limit your comments to 2 minutes and to matters contained in the proposed bylaw only. Once we have heard from first-time speakers, there will be an opportunity to address council a second time. Please remember to address your comments to council. To maintain an atmosphere that is respectful of all points of view, it is important for the audience to refrain from applauding or cheering for those speakers. We need to respect and hear all views, including those that may be in the minority. After everyone has spoken once, those wishing to speak again will have an opportunity. Council members may ask questions of speakers or staff to clarify what has been said. However, this is not an opportunity for debate. The public hearing will proceed as follows. First, the floor will be open to the public comments about cannabis, retail sales in general. After this portion of the public hearing, the District of Ucluelet zoning bylaw numbers 1254, 1255, and 1257 will be dealt with separately. Secondly, staff will provide an overview of the bylaw. And third, any comments that have been received at the open house have been received by council. Fourthly, the applicant will be given an opportunity to address the council. And fifth, the floor will be open to public comments. And then we'll repeat the steps 2 to 5 for each bylaw. We have some late items. Do I need to add those to the agenda, Joy? Okay, thank you. Number 6 here, cannabis retail sales general context. Mr. Gregg, are you going to be speaking to that? Where's Mr. Gregg?
Through the mayor, I believe this section would be the opportunity if people had comments to make to council on cannabis retail sales in general,
Okay.
as opposed to specific to any one of the 3 applications that council would, I believe, intended to provide an opportunity for that general comment, and then we'll overview the bylaws. But at this time, maybe I'll just make there are 2 sort of general sort of housekeeping or procedural notes. First, there are copies of the official community plan bylaw and zoning bylaw. They are available here for reference if anyone wishes to use them. There are copies of the agenda at the back of the room as well. Please share them. We don't have, they're thick enough. We didn't want to print copies for everybody in town and save a tree. And second, as advertised in the notice of the public hearing, I would just remind that this public hearing is the opportunity for council to collect and consider community input on the 3 provincial cannabis retail store license applications. The Provincial Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch has indicated they will not issue a cannabis retail sales license without a positive recommendation from the local government. So that aspect of the public hearing is equally important, I think, as the zoning. With that, I would turn it over to council for the general comment.
Thank you, Mr. Gregg. So I declare the public hearing for the District of Ucluelet zoning amendment bylaw numbers 1254, 1255, and 1257 open. So this is going to be the opportunity. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak about cannabis sales in general? This would be the opportunity. So just asking for first-time speakers to come up to the podium. Opportunity to do a general comment. Thank you for coming and starting it.
Thank you. My name is Christine Bryce, address 242 Mavis Avenue. Many people in this audience may know me as an elementary school teacher, and I'm just going to say I'm no longer an employee of School District 70, just in case, because you're videoing this. It's a fact here in Canada that marijuana is legal. It joins alcohol and tobacco as substances for adults to hopefully use responsibly and have known harmful side effects in some cases, for sure. And as a part of that, the Government of Canada and British Columbia and District of Ucluelet have put forward guidelines and regulations that control the sale of marijuana and alcohol and tobacco. So I have to say I was quite surprised at the last meeting that no approvals came forward. It is a legal substance here in our community and in our country. My feeling on this is that by having no legal venue here in Ucluelet, we encourage, in some cases, a very thriving black market to continue and distracts from RCMP from being able to actually stop the flow of harder and more dangerous drugs into our community. So a legal venue gives those people in the community who want to use it responsibly, who want to follow the guidelines of this community and of this country, somewhere to go. And if they are educators, health professionals, legal professionals, council members, they have somewhere to go and not be criminalized. And as I said before, allow the RCMP to actually focus on the criminals in our community and control that. One of the concerns that was raised at the last meeting was the access of marijuana for children. I've been a teacher for 20 years. I'm no longer an employee of the school district, so I will say that the kids who brought pot to my classroom got it at home. They got it from their parents grew, or their parents were dealers. It's a small town, there are no secrets. Having a legal venue in town where somebody who is overseen by the government and checked on helps with that. Okay? Doesn't eliminate it. We know kids can still get cigarettes and they can still get alcohol in this community, but it makes it harder, and it makes it so that if the people who are doing it properly, they can go on their way, and the RCMP know that anybody who does have it, they need to be dealt with. And straight talk. Students in my class whose parents used marijuana at home, well, they always had lots of food in their houses. That was always good for those kids. Those kids did not have their belongings chucked out of the house in drunken rages. Those kids were not tossed out of their houses themselves in drunken rages. They did not suffer all kinds of harms by people in their homes under the influence of alcohol. So quite frankly, if there's a student coming to school and there's been an alcoholic crazy party at their house the night before, they're much more traumatized than somebody who's had their parents sitting on the couch threatening maybe to beat the crap out of them, but often that doesn't happen. I hope I'm not trivializing it, but I think that by being really, really concerned about not allowing marijuana in our community, we're not looking at there are other things that harm the students and the children in our community, and that as adults, we need to display and show responsible use in alcohol, in tobacco, in marijuana. We need to do all those things. I think that the District of Ucluelet staff have tried to put forward a policy that's well thought out. You know, they said either no or more than one. So two seems like a good number. Here in our community, we have 2 venues that you can purchase alcohol at. And they have hours and they have times, and you know, there's a really set process. And so this seems to just be a very natural fit to follow those guidelines there.
Yeah, so Christine, it's easy for her to go on. I just really want to respect that there's a 2 minutes. And
I'm on the last point.
Perfect.
I promise. So considerations for traffic flow and parking have been brought forward by all of these applicants, and I think you guys are going to have a hard time looking through them. But basically, history teaches us that prohibition doesn't work. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Sorry, that's the first speaker, and I really want to get, just to respect people's comments. So when we have the cheering and the applauding, it really pits the community in half, and I just really want everybody just to respect each other's comments. It's not the forum to be doing that, so thank you.
And through the mayor, so we need to clarify with everybody that just to meet that 2-minute mark, I'll raise my hand just to indicate when you hit the 2-minute mark to be helpful. Okay. Sorry, we didn't clarify that earlier. So I'll raise my hand, but like the mayor said, there will be an opportunity afterwards at the end if you don't get to say everything you wanted to say. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you, Mark. Again, it's an opportunity, the mic is open.
Seconds. This won't take long.
Just your name and address there.
Shane Magnuson, 462 Orchid Crescent.
Thank you.
This is something we need. We have to have it here, and we should. But it should be, I don't like the people that are applying for it. I think we should have more of the community running it. If we could do something else, some other idea of things. I don't like the idea of it lining someone else's pocket. This is a big thing. It may be in a small building, but it's a lot of money. And I think we should run it ourselves as a town. Anyway, that's it.
Okay, thanks for your comments. Kent, we got to stop the clapping there, so just no clapping if you don't mind.
My name is Jens Haydock. I live at 302 Reef Pond Road. And I'd just like to note a few things regarding cannabis. I don't know if council and mayor have maybe been smoking a spliff or two in their youth, but what is sold today is by no means comparable to what was in the 1960s or 70s. It's much more potent, and with it is also a danger of the psychological effects of this drug. I don't see any resources or not enough resources in this community to address these issues. I think the West Coast Resource Society is already maxed out as they are. Furthermore, I see a problem with the RCMP not being able to do roadside testing. So much like a breathalyzer, there's currently, at least in Canada, no device that will test if a driver has been smoking prior entering the car or not. And so I think what the RCMP has been doing so far is trying to educate drug recognition experts. There are currently, I believe, 800 for the entire country of Canada. I don't believe there are any in Ucluelet as of this moment. So I'd like to see the RCMP getting their experts into place to be able to conduct roadside testing, subjective as they may be, so to ensure that we have safe driving here in town. On multiple occasions, I've been smelling marijuana from a vehicle driving ahead of me with just one occupant, so it cannot be the passenger. On another note, I think the Peninsula Road, especially that close to downtown, as I like to call it, is kind of like our main, it's almost like a living room. So this is what people see when they come from all over the world visiting Ucluelet and enjoying the beautiful outdoors. Having 3 cannabis stores that close together on the main drag rather than somewhere in the industrial quarters is concerning to me, as it is kind of like showing of what this community is. So for 1,800 people, we then would have 3 pot shops and 2 liquor stores. I think that's a lot of recreational use. And I would also highlight that there is not a single applicant that is actually providing medical marijuana, which is something that was highlighted, its benefits anyway for chronic pain patients. It's not advised to use recreational substitutes for that. None of them are medical in nature. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lori Crozier, live on 430 Orca Crescent. I've lived in this community for 29 years now. Marijuana has always been a part of this community, and fortunately our government has now decided consumers can do it legally. I think our community needs to step up and recognize that. There are people in our community who don't approve of alcohol, don't use it, don't like it, recognize there are problems with it, and there are also going to be people who think the same things about marijuana, but it's a choice we get to make, and adults should be able to make that choice, and adults in our community should be able to do it legally. I'm hoping that the rezoning will be approved for at least one of these applicants, and I think that, we should just, get with the program, as it were, and allow our consumers to be legal. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Luke Erich. I live at 1509 Madison, and I've got the distillery in town for people that don't know me. Really, in terms of general, I don't think this should be a question of if we're bringing marijuana into Ucluelet, because as it was just said, marijuana's been here long before I was born, and it'll probably be here long before I die. I think the real question here is, who do we want selling it? Do we want a bootlegger who's going to just be able to sell it to anyone who walks in? Believe me, when you don't have that government license looming over your head, you're going to sell to anyone. You don't care if they're 15 years old. Or do we want someone who has to have responsibility? Someone that when you walk in, you have to have a government-issued ID. Because the marijuana's going to be here anyway. It's going to be here anyway. And I mean, this might not... The bootlegs are going to be here for a long time, just like they were when alcohol finished. But really, if we want to start the process of this actually being regulated, this is the way we need to go. Or else it's going to be just like the way it was, which is any kid in that high school, I'm sure if you went to them and asked them for weed, they could find it. Whereas if you go ask those kids for alcohol, I bet you it's going to be a lot harder. Because it's harder for them to find. It's just like I said, because you have to have that ID.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Zachary, and I'm here to tell you about a little more about weed and how it affects this town.
Just your name and address, please.
Zachary Bylaw, 2660 Tiffany Ucluelet Highway, Longshore Campground. So clearly, a lot of you know that weed is bad for underage people under the age 25 before your brain is developed, correct? And as you said, a lot of people in this town can get weed anytime they want, at any age. Everybody in the high school smokes weed. I'm telling you right now, I'm snitching, that's it. They all smoke weed. And how can we fix that? By opening a pot shop, we're deleting a bunch of dealers, we're taking their business away, right? Sorry about that, I'm kind of shaky, I don't speak in front of people a lot. But yeah, by doing that, I think we can make some strict laws and make sure that the youth can't get as much marijuana, and it would really help us a lot, right? So that's the right thing to do.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Hi, my name is John Greenglass. I live at 917 Barclay Place. I want to start by saying that, as we all know, as of 2018, cannabis is legal. So I'm kind of wondering why things are moving so slowly here. The provincial and the federal government have done years of research, and that is why they have strict regulations in place that these retail applicants are obliged to follow. So I want to talk a bit about that. I don't know if anyone in council has been into a government cannabis store, but if you go into the government cannabis store in Port Alberni, the packaging all comes in child-proof packaging. So I'd like to say that that is a much safer alternative than the current alternative, which, as other people have said, is people buying it off the street. So the teacher spoke about kids getting it from their parents, right? It's a Ziploc bag, they can open the bag. The child-proof container is pretty hard for a little kid to open, right? Just thought I'd throw that out there. Also, there's a limit on how much you can purchase at one of these stores. That's another one of the regulations, right? So there's no limit at the liquor store. You can go buy enough booze to kill yourself. You can poison yourself. So I just thought I'd put that out there. As well, I want to address the personal attack on the applicants. Since when do citizens get to decide who opens a business where in a democracy? I seem to have a real problem with that. Personally, just because you don't want a certain person opening a store, that's not really right in my personal opinion. I just thought I'd put that forward. And there seems to be a real double standard here with alcohol and cannabis. And I just would like to say again that cannabis is legal, and we'd really like a safe place, especially for the sick and the elderly, to go purchase it. We'd like there not to be stigma with regards to that. And I'm really hoping things move forward here in a positive way, because currently it doesn't seem very positive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Caitlin. I'm from 1342 Chesterman. I'm actually from Tofino. I hope I'm still allowed to speak. Yeah. I moved out here recently, and I found the beauty of this place and everything that is natural about it, and it's really come to heal me. And I find it's strange that we don't allow cannabis, because it is very medicinal. It's very organic, very. Sorry, I'm nervous. My apologies. I used to work for an LP. I can't disclose, obviously, because it is being recorded, but I do know that there are very useful medicinal purposes from marijuana, and you can actually do so much with it, and you can target it with certain strains. It's not just something for recreational. You can help with blood pressure. You can help with people who need bone regeneration, and there's so much that we can learn from it. And I think that if we get ahead of it, and actually can open something where we can teach the public and educate them and help people see the benefits, not just for recreational, but for health purposes. I think it's something that would help this community. And with all the tourists coming in as well, it could actually be financially beneficial to keep it within the community. And I apologize if I'm taking too much time. I'm very nervous.
Don't apologize. It's all good. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Thomas Troutmansdorf, 1627 Holly Crescent. Just kind of wanted to voice my opinion. It's it's something that we as a country have decided that is legal for people to use and purchase now, and it is something that is in our community. And so I think it's important that we as a community set up a well-regulated way for people to access it. So that the people that live and work here and are part of this community aren't criminalized for something that is legal for them to do. The way these government stores work, it's pretty well regulated, not only in who can go in and buy it, but also there is a certain level of quality control over the product as well, which I think is quite important to kind of be able to know that what you're getting comes from a safe place and isn't filled with pesticides or fertilizers or other nasty stuff. So I think it's a safer way for people to do something that they're doing already, and that in this country they're legally entitled to do. So, I would be very much excited to see something move forward. I don't really know as much as I'd like to know about the applicants and what, but hoping to find out a bit more about that today.
Thank you.
Hello, Council. My name is Gregory Robert Ralston. I've been a resident of Ucluelet for 49 years.
Just your address, Greg.
338 U Street. I just want to say that you guys don't have to rush into it. Take your time. Let other communities make the mistakes and read how they go about it. I'm not against it. I have inhaled marijuana. Ucluelet needs to own the license. We need to benefit from the profits, not just hand that golden ticket to an individual from out of town or one person and they get all the cake. Ucluelet should own that license. There's a perfectly good parking lot across from the cop shop, a brand new parking lot beside the cop shop. Put the dispensary there. And the money made from that is a well-paying property of the community. It's a benefits and all of that go to the workers that work there, and all the profits go back into the community, not just one individual's pocket. And they can't, and once they're given that golden ticket, they can sell it. And that's worth a lot of money. Or lease it out to somebody, just like commercial fishing, black cod. Big bucks, big bucks. Yeah, golden ticket, man. Don't give it away. Slow the process down. We do, just because we're allowed to give it out right now doesn't mean we have to jump. And I'm not against it. Just do it right. Take your time and do it right. And don't just hand that golden ticket to somebody. I don't get it, understand it, but here's some ideas and please.
Thanks, Rick.
Hi, Joe Corzoli, 1157 Rupert. People are making it sound like we're trying to make pot illegal again. We're not. This is a bylaw we're going after. I don't think we're ready for this bylaw. Retail cannabis is not ready yet here. We don't have the resources to look after things that could go bad and will go bad. I've been on the animals for 20 something years, and I've seen it go bad. So no one can tell me it can't go bad just with pot. I just can't say that. And we don't have the resources here. We don't have the medical team. There's not even a clinic during the day here, or during the night here. So everything has to go to Tofino. We're just not ready yet. So like I said, take your time and let's do it right the first time. Okay?
Thanks, Joe.
Hello, Mayor and Council. David Smith, 1390 Ellen Road. At the last council meeting regarding retail cannabis, I spoke of some of the dangers of cannabis use, particularly to those under the age of 25. Those statements are still true and relevant, but this time I'm going to speak towards some of the comments in the last meeting that were some of the supposed attributes of having a retail cannabis store. So 1, quality and purity of product. There have been no cases in Canada of fentanyl-laced marijuana. If someone wants to put other substances in marijuana, they can do it regardless of where they buy it. Number 2, the medicinal use factor. While I believe that cannabis products have valid medicinal properties, 70 to 80% of all cannabis sales in Canada are for recreational use. The zoning and licensing applications being discussed here are for recreational cannabis sales, just to be clear, and are not for medicinal sales. And 3, the educational factor. The idea that someone with a limited knowledge of cannabis could come into a retail store and ask questions and receive accurate answers from a knowledgeable and trained salesperson appeals to some people. A doctor can write prescriptions for drugs, but to become a doctor requires at least 10 years of education in Canada, education and residency. A pharmacist distributes drugs and the information about them. It takes 5 or 6 years of post-secondary education to become a pharmacist. Both doctors and pharmacists continue and update their education throughout their careers. How much training would you think a cannabis consultant would require? To be a cannabis consultant within the liquor distribution branch, you must demonstrate a passion for transferring the knowledge of and selling cannabis products, a minimum of 1 year of recent related experience working in a sales environment with a high level of customer interaction, and basic cannabis knowledge. No training is required. I don't think that this is sufficient training or education for someone to be advising people on drug use. For instance, if an individual under the age of 25, but over the age of 19 asks about cannabis, would the advice be that it could be harmful to your brain and mental state? Being that this person's job is to sell cannabis, I think not. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Hello, Rebecca Hurwitz, 389 Marine Drive.
In regards to cannabis sales in general, I agree that there's no need to rush it, and I think there's a great opportunity to derive some community benefit eventually. So I really think it's important to think about funding for youth programs, perhaps education programs, the possibility of cannabis sales being a living wage employer so that it's a good job in town, not necessarily high turnover or minimum wage. We're a small town with a lot of exciting projects underway, and I think time is limited in terms of our municipal staff and your leadership. The new school, the transportation program, health hub, potential for a new education facility, and booming construction. I think these should be the priorities in Ucluelet. I think that's what time needs to be spent on, and there's really no need to rush in terms of cannabis sales.
Kathleen Congdon, 1192 Eber Road. I'm going to read from my phone because I came to the open house tonight and I made a few notes after I left. Cannabis is, obviously everybody knows, is legal in Canada now. It's been mentioned several times. But I think it's now up to us as a community to decide what's to do best. Some of the things that came to mind about the rezoning is the designation of an area with a covenant in place to that actual space, so that it is being retailed from that and no other space on the property. Another option is to actually explore rezoning of a portion of the property so that it has no chance of moving around the property. And one of those two options mentioned would eliminate the possibility of the sale being moved retail around the property. Our job as community members is to protect the future and make decisions responsibly, to protect our children, our grandchildren, and their futures, because the children are our future. Making sure that the right steps are in place, whether to make it safe, whether it be by a covenant or a portion of rezoning is crucial. The other thing is enforcement. And enforcement, I think, is crucial in this case. I think it needs to be monitored so that we know that it is staying within the place it's being sold and sold to the right people. Thank you.
Thank you.
1148 Coral Way, speaking on behalf of my wife as well as Lisa. I'd like to add introduce a word of proportion. It seems to me that the prospect of 3 cannabis shops opening in a small community is out of proportion. This is a new activity, and the social impact and perhaps the health impact are not really too well known. And it would be premature to approve 3 shops in a small community. I would suggest a more prudent approach would be to maybe, if there is a wish to have this presence in the community, to license 1 shop. Wait, gather experience before going any further, because if you don't really know how to swim, you don't jump into the deep end of the pool. The opening hours proposed in all of these establishments, 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, 7 days on 7, are exaggerated. People can't even buy food in these hours. It's difficult to understand why you would need 93 square meters. This is a lot of space. Again, experience can tell whether this would be justified. But maybe in the meantime, it would be prudent to set a limit much lower than that. Signage would need to be controlled by the council and approved by council, but also landscaping and sheltering from neighbouring properties by trees, shrubs, things of that nature. I would suggest that, again, if there is a will to have a presence here, council should have very direct discussions with our CMP on appropriate monitoring of any facility, if approved, and to enforce that no young people congregate around it, no underage people enter into it.
Richard Kelsevich, 1308 Pine Road. It's not a matter of accessibility anymore. You're allowed to grow 4 plants in every house, so you can't control what people do behind their locked doors. Yeah. Thanks. Good luck with that.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for putting this on. It gives us a chance to get the community together to talk
Just your name and address, please.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I think everybody knows.
I know, but it's just we have to keep it formal. I'm sorry. We're going to be serious here.
Okay. My name is Ellen Kimoto. I live at 890 Peninsula Road here in Ucluelet. Sorry, Mako, for teasing you, but that's okay. I'm a Ucluelet. I've lived here all my life since 1950. I was born in Tofino in 1941. In 1962, I was a young student going to the University of Victoria, and my first summer away from all of this was to go to San Francisco. So in 1962, I smoked a great big doobie at Haight-Ashbury Park. And we wore that as sort of a badge of courage, right? We were rebels and so on and so forth. So I know a little bit about the background of marijuana. It's had a much more interesting creative history than, say, alcohol, right? I think we think in terms of cannabis as being lighter, more fun, less violence. We eat a lot, good for our body. So it's easy to rush into taking cannabis as a really good cash cow. I should tell you that in the morning, I wake up about 5 o'clock, turn the TV on to CNBC. It's a business channel. And I've been noticing since July that cannabis companies and their IPOs have tanked. They're not making a lot of money right now. There's some problems. And I want council for you to think about why that has happened. It didn't happen in Portugal, because Portugal was the first European country to undergo a whole new way of looking at marijuana and other drugs. Unfortunately, I don't speak Portuguese, so I couldn't listen to or read some of their information. I could go on, but yes, his hand's up.
Yeah.
So my plea to council is to put as much energy into health and welfare as you put into this agenda. My homework yesterday. So I appreciate that there are some really good things about it and some problems. Please give both of them equal opportunity time. Thank you.
Thank you. Honestly, Courtney, you may not be in the beginning, and we just really want to make sure that we're just no cheering and applauding just because it changes the tone. Yes, she is a Komodo, but we just got to keep it even. Thank you.
Hi, my name is David Chafino from Peninsula Road 963. Cannabis is legal, and that's the thing, no? I suffer from back pain, insomnia. I can't sleep without smoking. But I need the thing, okay? For me to drive every day, every week or every 2 weeks, 3 hours to get pot, it's insane, okay? By not having a legal source of weed in town, the only thing that's happening is you're feeding the black market. And I don't know if you guys have bought drugs in the street ever, but when they don't have weed, they will offer you something else. And that's happening to all the childs right now, all the youth and many people, no? If you are so concerned of the health of the town, please regulate the liquor store. How many times we drive back that road, it's dark and there's drunk people in the street every day. So, thank you.
My name is Will Bryce, 242 Mavis Ave. We have plenty of outlets for weed in town. By bringing in legal ones, the town has a chance to limit somewhat who's using it. You've got a chance to put age limits on it. You've got a chance to put limits on the products that are available. By waiting as long as we have nationally, we haven't really solved any problems with drugs in general or weed specifically. By telling a population, no, you can't do that, it doesn't work. We know that. We tried it with alcohol. by making marijuana accessible to the public, we will be able to improve the situation. We'll be able to make it safer for people to use. You'll be able to make available a safer product. The people who grow weed in the black market have available to them products that we don't want to consume. The guys who are just in it to make money, they'll use it anyway. By being able to screen a product that's available at a legal source, you can limit those products you don't want in. Some are poisons, some are excessive food in the product. Some of them are unsafe, and some of them just make for a poor product. By having a legal source, you can have a superior product, and that's just about it. It's better to have it legal. Thank you.
Thank you. Your first time speakers? Yeah, that's what it's there for.
Jacqueline Holiday, 311 Marine Drive. If Council may, and you're correcting me if it's okay, that just the comments that I've heard, it's really great to hear the pros and cons from everybody. Just a misconception that I seem to be hearing is a few people have noted that 3 locations would be approved. It's my understanding that there's a maximum allowance for 2 in Ucluelet, a maximum allowance for 2. And if we make a decision based on the first 3 applicants that we have brought before us, we've made that permanent decision to rezone for one of these 3 individuals. We don't know who else could come forward. We don't know if maybe the co-op might get involved. If I really loved your idea about more community involvement in it, and really making sure that something that really is a golden ticket for this, potentially, that we have something that's going to benefit our community. I did submit a letter to council that explained my feelings on, I believe, each of the 3 applicants and locations at hand, and I agree with a lot of other people that are here that I really don't want it on my main drag. I don't want that to be the first thing that our tourists see. And you know what, in the future, we can expand from there. We can expand from there. But you're right, I really feel right now that we shouldn't rush into this. We don't have to. And actually, any of those 3 applicants, I don't think it's going to deter them if we wait now. I don't think it will deter anybody from reapplying in the future. Thanks.
Hey, James Clark, 231 Otter Street. Well, it's a street on one side and it's a road on the other. But I've heard some really good things tonight, you know, pro and con. And it's made me think a lot, and I hope it's made everybody else think a lot on this. It would be great if it could be a local thing, run by the town, all proceeds going into the general coffers. There's a government-run liquor store in Port Alberni that's basically run everybody else out of town. You know, they've shut everybody down and busted them and had the only government store running. I don't know if it's legally possible for the town or the district or whatever to do something like that. I know it would get the support of probably 90% of the population if that was done. There's 3 applications. All of them are very good. They have very valid points there. Yeah, some locations are better than others. But it's make sure we have all the resources in place. You know, like stop, think, act. We don't have to be in a rush. We don't have to do this today, but it is needed. The last 2 summers I've been working down at the fuel dock talking to a lot of tourists and people that bring in their own boats, and they're always like, hey, where can I get some weed, man? You know, like you look like you smoke. And it's like, well, you know, I can't help you out, you know, like there's no place here. You got to go to Port Alberni for legal. You know, hang around the bar that we have. Hey, buddy, you know, like what are you doing? You know anybody? But take the shady aspect out of it. It is legal. There should be a store here. There should be a place here. It's taxes, the whole trickle down. You know, everybody's going to order a pizza or, you know, maybe a six-pack and off you go. But it's something that's definitely needed. You know, and we're not in a rush. You know, it's still. I can just leave here now and grab some on my way home. But it's all, you know. But I would much rather go to the store and get legal. See, like I like the CBD aspect. My knees are hooped. You know, I use it for that. And if you really want to do any research, talk to all the other dispensaries in the island or any locals and see how many people that go in there do just go in for CBD and are older than 50.
All right. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thanks. That's good. Any other first-time speakers?
Jenny Sheeline, 1409A Helen Road. Since he said over 50, I thought I'd say close to 70. I never was a marijuana user or a supporter of drugs of any kind, and my sleep has been compromised probably for the last 20 years, and marijuana has given me a much better quality of life, and I just wanted to advocate for it, that's all, and everything that everybody has said, I support that. I think it would be good if it could be a resource of the town after having sat here and listened to everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other first-time speakers? Any new comments? There you go.
The Statistics Canada website for cannabis use, and the two really interesting things that I saw was currently 80% of admitted cannabis use is bought illegally. And also the very interesting fact was the fastest growing population of first-time users is above the age of 65. I think that should be taken into consideration, and having things legally accessible for people who don't currently have it here. In the tourism industry especially, you have people coming out of town. These people don't want to try and seek out a drug dealer. They want to have something legal and accessible.
It is nerve-wracking up here, so you guys know.
I think that's it.
Thank you. Great.
I'm also very nervous about talking in public. So my name is Kim Foster. I live at 215 Alder Street here in Ucluelet, and I was born and raised here in Ucluelet. It's a beautiful community. And I have a lot of respect for everybody here, everything that you've already said, and for the council. It's got to be a real difficult situation that you're in. I've heard a lot of people talking about recreational cannabis, and there's a lot of other products that I think would be carried in those stores as well. I have aging parents, and my dad has arthritis in his hands so bad, and they hurt really bad. And I think it's about 6 months ago, I found a cream in one of the stores out of town that were illegal. And I brought it home to him, and he's been using it ever since. And there was a period of time for I think it was about 2.5 months where we couldn't find it. It was sold out everywhere. And so we went and we had to find, we were lucky enough to find somebody who made it out of their home. He's very uncomfortable about using that. He wants something that's regulated. He wants to know that it's safe. He wants to know that it's been produced in a manner that is going to be safe for him to use. Being here in Ucluelet, we're rural. I've been rural here for 52 years. And it's not easy to get out to town. And when you get out to town and you go into one of the stores there and they don't have it, and so now you've spent a trip going out there and coming back and traveling over the road and all that kind of sort of thing. I really think that it's something that I understand the hesitancy. There's so many different ways to go about it. But I think that if you keep waiting and waiting and waiting, you're going to be late to the game. And I think that As a community, I think that we need to move forward. We need to embrace it. It's legal. With the government regulation on it, it's going to be safer. Somebody looking for even recreational cannabis, it's going to be a safer place to go in and get it, instead of trying to find a drug dealer where there could be other drugs there that aren't legal. It's just, it makes a lot of sense to start moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, still open. Any additional comments generally regarding cannabis? Any? Okay. And for the third time, are there any members of the public who wish to speak generally on the topic? Okay. Hearing none. We're going to get into the specific bylaws and applications now. Bylaw number 1254, 2019, cannabis sales at 1786 Peninsula Road. I now invite the Manager of Community Planning to provide an overview of the bylaw number 1254, 2019.
Mr. Mayor, in general terms, the purpose of District of Ucluelet Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1254, 2019 is to amend the CS2 Service Commercial Regulations within Schedule B of the Ucluelet Zoning Bylaw number 1160, 2013 to allow cannabis retail sales as an additional principal use on the property at 1786 Peninsula Road. In addition, a general amendment to the zoning bylaw would limit the maximum gross floor area of any cannabis retail sales use within the CS2 zone to a maximum of 93 square meters, which is approximately 1,000 square feet. The other part of this application, which is subject to this public hearing, is the provincial application for a non-medical cannabis retail store license for the Ucluelet Cannabis Company.
Thank you. And we've received the correspondence related to that. So I'm just going to invite the applicant to address council, if you wish.
Hello, Mayor and Council. I'm Andrew Hansen, the owner of the property at 1786 Peninsula Road, and the applicant for the cannabis retail store. I'd like to thank the Mayor and Council for bringing me back for a second address of this rezoning. I'd also like to thank the Planning Department because I think they put a lot of hours into this. Last time I was here, I spoke about three things. The product that we'd be selling and how it's not just for getting high, it's used for other ailments, which several people have mentioned. I spoke about education and how it's our responsibility as a store to educate and be an information center about cannabis. And I spoke about the benefit of this location being low-key and easy access for the community on foot, bike, or car. Today I want to add my vision for the property as well. The current zoning allows for retail, which is what this cannabis store would be, a retail operation that requires skills and experience to operate successfully and safely. A business model which we are very experienced in. Our retail liquor store on the property has been there for many years, and due to the liquor branch regulations, it will remain there in that location, and the deliveries will always have to come in back off our street to access the loading bay. The new development will increase the landscaping buffer on Larch Road, and it will also give delivery trucks better and safer access. The future vision I have for the property is an artisan-type development and fitting with the community, with a new liquor store building, several small retail spaces that would allow local entrepreneurs to be able to open businesses without being tied to big rents during the slower months. If you picture tiny homes for retail with new landscaping and local wares with accommodation above. The cannabis store will be the first phase of the future of this property. With the new store development, we'll be upgrading the property in all aspects and conditions of the building, as well as the landscaping it, making it a nicer view for the neighbors and the passersby. I hope that with this glimpse into my vision, you'll see that this is a great location for a cannabis retail store and that will benefit the community. All that being said, the building that we are proposing does have challenges in changing the use to retail, and we're also open to looking at other locations if the council feels that this retail location is not suited for a cannabis store. And I'd also like to just add that I feel that my team and I would be good candidates for operating the the cannabis store, and I would like to ask for council's endorsement to the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch on the licensing portion of this application, regardless of the decision on the location. Thanks again for letting me speak.
Thank you. So I'm just going to the members of the public, will now have the opportunity to comment on the District of Ucluelet zoning bylaw number 1254-2019. There's also an opportunity for the members of the public to comment on the issuance of the non-medical cannabis retail store license to Andrew Hansen. Mr. Hansen has applied to the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch for a license to operate non-medical cannabis retail store at 1786 Peninsula Road under 1181-569 BC Limited, doing business as Ucluelet Cannabis Corporation. The proposed business hours are 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week. So I'm opening the floor for the first-time speakers that wish to speak regarding the specific location application.
You want my name again?
Yeah, please just
Laurie Crozier, 430 Orca Crescent. Of the 3 applicants that have been, listed in the paper, etc., I think, to me, this one makes the most sense. It would be tied in with a facility that already sells a product only to grown-ups. It just seems to me that it would tie in very nicely. And in regards to, yes, okay, there's some people very overly maybe concerned about what are the people driving into our town going to think if they see a cannabis store on the main street. Well, the reality is many of the people coming into this community will be looking for it. So I don't see that as a particular drawback. If there's already a cold beer and wine store there, it just seems to me that I have no concern at all with this being the property that maybe would be chosen.
Thank you. Any other first-time speakers regarding the location?
Thomas Schroepensdorf, 1627 Holly Crescent. Yeah, I just wanted to say I agree with pretty much everything the lady just said. Andrew and his team have experience running a retail operation where adults can go in. It's it's not the first thing you see coming into town for people that were concerned with that, but I don't really see the concern with seeing a legal business when you come into a town. But yeah, it just seems like a spot that makes sense, and it's already a person, a local business owner in the community, trying to just run another business.
Thank you.
Greg Ralston and 338 Use. A question to the council. Once they receive the license, is it forever, or is it they own that forever, or is it a limited time?
Mr. Gregg, can you answer that question if permitted? I don't think we're...
Do they get the golden ticket forever, or do they got to reapply?
We'll let staff answer your question.
Mr. Mayor, it would be very much like a liquor license. There's, as far as really that is up, the terms of those licenses are up to the province, the Provincial Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch. As far as we know, there's no time limit on that license, like a liquor license for a liquor store or beer and wine store.
Okay, thank you. Just your name and address.
Having
can you just say
you just said on that issue.
Wait a minute. Just your name
Lorraine
and address.
Edwards,
Thank you.
262 Lee Street.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's good.
You made me forget what I was going to say.
Oh.
That's what happens when you're almost 70. I'm going to have to go because I did really forget.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
It was very pertinent though. Can you take a license away once you've given it if you find that person is not dealing with it in a intelligent way? What does forever mean?
Mr. Gregg?
Mr. Mayor, again, the actual enforcement of regulations of the license would be up to the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch. And again, I would expect that would be a parallel to a liquor license, where there are provisions where if a license holder is not complying with the terms of their license or the laws, that a license can be suspended.
Whoops.
Greg again.
Greg, I'm just going to go through the first time. We're going to let people that want to speak first before you get that.
Are you allowed to lease the license out to another?
Again, that's like Mr. Greg had said. Once a person has a license, it's through the liquor board at that time. The question here is regarding the applicant and the location. That's what's before us here. So it's good. Yeah.
John Greenglass, 917 Barclay Place. I'd like to say that I think that Andrew's the logical candidate, in my opinion, because he has a proven track record already owning businesses in town and already owning a business dealing with a regulated and controlled substance, and has a proven track record with that. As well, I'd like to talk about the location. I believe that the complaints that are being made that the location is on the main street, that those people maybe have not been anywhere else in the province recently, because there is no way you can come to Ucluelet without passing multiple cannabis retailers throughout the province. The Port Alberni, the government, the provincial government has one in Port Alberni that you can see the sign right on the main drive coming here. You can see a store in Nanaimo. They're all over Vancouver. I guess having it in a safe place where people can see, I would assume would be better than being out of mind in the shadows, right? We're moving forward as cannabis being a legal product in this country, so I believe having the facility or visible and signage visible is a very positive thing.
Thank you. Any other first-time speakers?
Kim Foster, 215 Alder Street. If it wasn't on Peninsula, where else would it be? In a residential area in Ucluelet? Because I don't think that there's really any other streets that aren't residential other than Peninsula or a main street. I also agree that I don't think it's the first thing you want to see when you come into a community is a great big huge pot sign. But I do think that somewhere central to the community is actually a really good spot. And I'd like to again say that yes, this applicant is already in compliance with the liquor board and already knows how to follow all the regulations and has a proven track record. Thank you.
Any first-time speakers? Calling a second time. Any speakers? And asking a third time if there are any members of the public that would like to speak to this particular location applicant. Okay. None heard. Thank you. We're going to get into bylaw number 1255, 2019, cannabis sales for 1972 Peninsula Road. Again, I invite the Manager of Planning to provide an overview of the bylaw number 1255, 2019.
Mr. Marion, in general terms, the purpose of District of Ucluelet zoning amendment bylaw number 1255, 2019 is to amend the CS2 service commercial regulations within Schedule B of the Ucluelet zoning bylaw number 1160, 2013, to allow cannabis retail sales as an additional principal use on the property at 1972 Peninsula Road. The other part of this application, which is subject to this public hearing, is the provincial application for a non-medical cannabis retail store license for Platinum Cannabis Limited.
Okay, great, thank you. The correspondence from the open house, correct? And now I invite the applicant to address council.
Mayor and Council, my name is Kyle Shan. I'm the founder of Platinum Cannabis Retail. Cannabis is truly an amazing plant. Adding it to your town legally and affordably in storefronts will change things for the better. Local compassion organizations on every level will be involved that we plan to donate every year to. We will assign a manager full-time to engage with town staff and the community around us working with their recommendations, setting up things like craft cannabis fairs and festivals like what North Cowichan just did a couple months ago. Charles, the co-founder of Platinum Cannabis, was lucky enough to win first and third place. We would love to teach locals different ways to grow and host free seminars as well. I can promise we have zero tolerance for booting or underage buying. If you find out anything like this has happened or happening, we will inform the local bylaw officer / RCMP and issue a permanent ban. I've had the chance to assist over 50,000 people who live on this island and the Gulf Islands over the last 10 years with medical cannabis, mostly under the brand Leaf Compassion Society. I am looking forward to bringing my knowledge to the recreational side. I hope the time you have had to get to know me and my business, Platinum Cannabis, is enough for you to see that I am educated and wise enough to serve your beautiful town. We currently have local positive recommendations from all Port Alberni Council members and the Salt Spring Islands Trust Committee. Our provincial licenses will be coming any week for those 2 locations. Platinum Cannabis is also a chain, not a franchise. It is owned by Charles, Phillip, and myself, and we both live on Vancouver Island and are always available by phone and email. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Okay, again, this is an opportunity for members of the public to comment on the District of Ucluelet's zoning bylaw number 1255-2019. This is also an opportunity for the members of the public to comment on the issuance of a non-medical cannabis retail store license for Mr. Charles Phillip. Mr. Phillip has applied to the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch for a license to operate a non-medical cannabis retail store named Platinum Cannabis Limited at 1972 Peninsula Road. The proposed business hours are from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. 7 days a week. So we're going to open up the podium again for any members of the public that like to wish to speak to the location and applicant.
Hi guys. So I probably should have came up earlier. I was a little confused at what's going on, but I do want to speak on behalf.
Just your name and address.
Oh, right. Jamie Osborne, 257 Albion Crescent. So I've got a kind of a mixed thing going on here as far as the weed in general, and of course the applicant, and it's all mixed in together. So I'll just go for it. Councillors, District of Ucluelet, Mayor, I want to thank you for taking the time to hear our feelings concerning the matter at hand, and I hope regardless of your own personal opinions surrounding the subject, we will be heard with open mind and the goal for what is best for our community. First off, I would like to address some of the previous concerns from the last meeting I attended. As you may or may not know, for the last 2 years, I've had multiple meetings with the previous council members and district in regards to opening my own cannabis shop here in Ucluelet. It has always come down to wait until the government has made its decision. Well, that time has finally come. To some, this may seem like rushed overnight decision that we are unprepared for, but for most, this battle has been going on for decades, over 50 years. I've myself been an advocate since the 90s. We have known about the benefits forever, but due to the big oil companies and big money greed, we were fed the lies and rhetoric that we have been led to believe today. So understand, this is by no way rushed. While we waited for the decisions, I was introduced to Kyle and Leaf Compassion in Port Alberni. And we're not talking about old school head shops sporting Bob Marley flags and cheesy rock band t-shirts. Kyle's shops from around the island are clean, professional, clinical, classy, and they're very knowledgeable. It's also not about just smoking weed and getting high anymore. It's about pain management, tinctures, oils, CBD patches, soaps, shampoos, bath bombs, massage oils, you name it, it exists. All custom tailored to specific ailments and pain management. And Kyle has been in this business for over a decade. This is why I've decided to back Platinum Cannabis. I don't believe the other applicants share anywhere close to the same knowledge or experience that Kyle does. He has lived this for a decade. We would be amiss if we missed out on this opportunity. I truly understand not wanting to rush into this without proper consideration. That's why I propose to issue one license to Platinum Cannabis and take the time to learn, from them and open up a government store in the future. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Oh yeah, what this is truly about, it's giving the elderly and legal age adults a professional, knowledgeable establishment to acquire alternative pain management products. Also do our part in supporting the advancement and studies of this miraculous plant, not slow it down. Again, it's not about just smoking pot and getting high. It's also an alternative to prescription opioids, removing plastics from our shelves, deforestation, clothing, cars, renewable resources.
Thanks, Jenny.
That's
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Charles Philp, 2503 Brule Drive. I'm Kyle Chain's business partner. I got into cannabis sales before it was legal to help people out with their pain management. My father died of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it was brutal to watch him die through my entire teenage life. He was sick for a long time, and when the doctor said, you know, you've probably only got about 3 months left until you're terminal, they're like, why don't you try this plant? And he started smoking and eating with it. All of a sudden, that 3 months turned into about 3 years with positive bounce back. He was able to handle his chemotherapy, etc. I ended up getting a medical license because I was infatuated with the plant. I love learning about it. I have a resource at home where I get to work with family who's been growing for over 3 decades. I took some of my medical cannabis to the North Cowichan exhibition, and I competed against licensed producers. I believe there's quite a few submissions, and I placed first and third. So I believe the experience that I bring to your community would help make sure that we have the best quality product from the government coming into your town, and making sure that we have, you know, a monitored access where somebody who has a lot of experience can help out and help other growers. I love sharing my knowledge. I absolutely do. I'm so passionate about what I do. That would be one thing that I'd like to just bring in. And other than that, I love Ucluelet. I think this place is beautiful. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Richard Kelsevich, 1308 Pine Road. Yeah, it's nice to hear that there's some passion involved in the flower here. I think if your primary purpose is a pocketbook as a community, a businessman is a great guy to look for. If your primary purpose is security and families and children, these guys have a passion. Yeah, so.
Thank you. Any?
302 Reed-Pond Road. I didn't really plan to speak on this application, but over the past couple of weeks, especially active on Facebook, I felt a little bit misguided and misinformed by the topic that was brought up, which is basically mainly the benefits for those seeking medical marijuana and treating it or using it to treat chronic pain and an alternative to normal prescription drugs. If you have a prescription, you can get medical marijuana, you can get it over the internet. It is completely safe. It's not that these applicants are the only source of medical marijuana. Actually, it is, again, recreational in nature. I want to point this out. There are many people that benefit from medical marijuana in this town, but they can get it safely through other means, and it's not through retail businesses that are pursuing a recreational use marijuana. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. First time speakers, okay.
Stromansdorf again, 1627 Holly Crescent. Yeah, just wanted to speak about, I was familiar with Kyle's Operation Leaf Compassion, and have been to several of their locations, and I just always found they were extremely professional, knowledgeable, clean stores, well run. Yeah, and I didn't realize it was the same people associated with Platinum Cannabis, and yeah, I'd just like to say that as far as who does the town decide to allow to do this, as far as people with experience that know what they're doing, I don't know that we can do much better, in my personal experience.
Thank you.
I should lend my support to that.
Any in the applicant? the second time, okay, thank you, Kim.
I'm just going to say that, Kim Foster, 215 Alder Street, Ucluelet. I still strongly feel that wouldn't want the first sign that you see coming into Ucluelet being a cannabis sign. Not to say anything about them personally, the applicant, but I just don't agree with that location.
Perfect, thank you. Any other speakers? Calling a second time. Thank you.
Ashley Chang, 2503 Rural Drive. I just wanted to say I think every municipality should be able to have safe access for cannabis use.
Thank you. Calling a second time. Any speakers? And calling a third time. Are there any members from the public that wish to speak for this location and applicant? Okay, hearing none. We're going to move on to lots of paper here. Okay. We're going to move to bylaw number 1257, 2019, cannabis sales at 1685 Peninsula Road. Again, I invite the manager of planning to provide an overview of the bylaw number 1257, 2019.
Mr. Mayor, in general terms, the purpose of District of Ucluelet zoning amendment bylaw number 1257, 2019 is to amend the CS1 Village Square commercial regulations within Schedule B of the Ucluelet zoning bylaw number 1160, 2013 to allow cannabis retail sales as an additional principal use on the property at 1685 Peninsula Road. In addition, a general amendment to the zoning bylaw would limit the maximum gross floor area of any cannabis retail sales use within the CS1 zone to a maximum, again, of 93 square meters or 1,000 square feet. And the other part of this application, which is subject to this public hearing, is the provincial application for a non-medical cannabis retail store license for Green Leaves Cannabis.
Thank you. And we've received the correspondence from the open house. We have that before us. And again, I'm going to invite the applicant to address council if you're in the room.
Hi, good evening everybody. Mike Saja, 1685 Peninsula Road. Well, the reason why we wanted to do it is three things actually. Location, knowledge and experience, and community benefits. I think
Can you just use the microphone just a little bit better just so we can hear you?
Sorry.
No, it's good. Yeah. Thank you.
I think location-wise, we are central and accessible, takes away the traffic problems like, not on the main roads and stuff like that. A lot of parking, and it aligns with our OCP that we need to bring our downtown area to certain standards. So that's, I think the proposed location meets all those things. Knowledge and experience. We do know theoretically like what it is and what it does and what it doesn't, those sort of things. We also know the side effects, good things and bad things I hear from other people. Experience-wise, you can get experience in various forms. You don't necessarily have to sell the cannabis before to get the same experience. My profession is to deal with the drugs, and then we do have the similar things to comply with, like narcotic drugs and control drugs, those sort of things. I don't think it is any different than those things. So we understand the importance of compliance, proper use, and proper guidance for the people. Community benefits, I think we are the best applicants among all three applicants for the community benefit wise. As people has noted, like we are going to get access to the public parking lot from our property, and also we are going to have walkway through for the people's use. I think that is more significant than anything else. So that's something that we need to consider. I have heard the concerns about education. The floor plans are not displayed, but in the floor plan itself, right at the entrance, we do have an educational area. Like it could be appropriately selected material, the province would provide them or we can provide them. So if anybody has any questions, they're more than welcome to ask or go to the material. Yeah, so education-wise, I don't think that's a problem. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Okay. This is now an opportunity for the members of the public to comment on the District of Ucluelet zoning bylaw number 1257, 2019. This is also an opportunity for the members of the public to comment on the issuance of a non-medical cannabis retail store license for DAPT. How do you pronounce that? DAPT? She. Okay, thank you. Ms. She has applied for the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch for a license to operate a non-medical cannabis retail store named 1193-126 BC Limited, doing business as Green Leaves Cannabis at 1685 Peninsula Road. The proposed hours of operation are 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week. And I think everybody knows the routine here, so this is going to be an opportunity for members of the public, first-time speakers regarding the applicant and the location. If there's anybody who would like to speak to it.
Jane Edwards, 262 Lee Street. I would just like to point out that one of the people said that they thought that maybe there should be medically knowledgeable people involved in selling this. Well, there we go. Basically what I said. I think he'd be a good guy.
Thank you.
Lori Crozier, 430 Orca. Having spoken originally in support of applicant number 1, I'm also not necessarily not supporting either of these other two. I would kind of wonder whether our community can successfully support 3 marijuana stores. But I think, any of these other applicants, any of these other 2 locations, I have no problem with any of it. Someone else had pointed out, like, none of them are in a residential area, which I think is, important. They're all in a business area. So, I would be in favor of, any or all of them being approved. I'm just not necessarily sure that they'll all, be able to continue in operation once we find out what kind of demand there's really going to be.
Thank you. Any other first-time speakers?
John Greenglass, 917 Barclay Place. I want to say that I was deeply concerned that the applicant that just spoke said he had no experience with marijuana and cannabis. And yeah, if his experience is doling out or dispensing opiates, I don't think he should be, I wouldn't support him selling cannabis because a lot of people are on cannabis to get off the opiates. So there seems to be a big disconnect if you got a pharmacist selling cannabis. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
302 Reef Pond Road, Jens Heidak. I can attest that Mike, as a pharmacist, has very well the knowledge and the means and also the background to be able to acquire any knowledge that is required to sell marijuana and to advise people on which strains to use, etc. Just want to make that clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional first-time speakers on the location and applicant?
Bronwyn Kelleher, 1309 Pine Road. I really like the location for Mike's pharmacy there. Having it behind and centrally located, I think, is a good idea. People are talking about not wanting it as the first thing that tourists see when they come to town. It wouldn't be the first thing tourists see when they come to town, but it is located in the middle of town, in a part of town that we're trying to densify. It has the parking lot just around the corner there, the new one that we've just built as well. And I think with pedestrian traffic, it would have a good thoroughfare through there, and it's accessible also to the Lady Rose, which we have a lot of elderly people on. They don't like to go up the hill. So right there at the bottom of the hill, you have a good spot. He is a pharmacist. Yes, he does give opioids to the town in a controlled way for medical use. And I think if he is aware of anybody that is abusing opioids in town, maybe he would be able to parlay that into people using marijuana as a way to get off the opioids that they are possibly abusing through the controlled way that he does sell them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other first-time speakers? Hearing none, okay. We'll give it a second time. Are there any calling out to any speakers? Yeah. Sorry, Kim, you got one. Keep coming, Mike.
Mike Sarja, 1685 Peninsula Road. I believe compliance is really important in this business. So, experience-wise, nobody has just started. It's legalized only like 1 year ago, and then we're still in the process, right? So compliance is really important. So that's where the community concerns comes into. So I think we should take that into consideration.
Thank you.
I think this is also another good location. It is central to town. I think that the background is good. I think that, Kim Foster, 215 Alder Street. But it's another person that I think is used to following regulations. I don't think that we need to look at the applicants as the person who are going to be dealing with the public, though. I think that it's going to be up to them to find employees that are going to be able to fit into the positions that are going to be required by our community, to be able to inform and make sure that the regulations are being followed. And I think that both these, the applicants that I've supported would be able to do that very well.
Thank you. Calling out a second time. And asking a third time, are there any members of the public that wish to speak regarding this one? Okay. Hearing none, so I declare this public hearing for the District of Ucluelet Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1254, 1255, and 1257 closed. Thank you very much. So we're adjourned. Wow, that was very, very timely. So we're going to just take a little recess before we get into the special meeting. Okay, thank you. We'll just give it a 10-minute recess.